Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Schneider, founder of the Perception Academy. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be interviewing one of my clients, Stephan Iskander. We're going to ask him some questions about some of the things he's learned from our work together. And maybe some of those things would be something that you could benefit from, his learnings and his experience. So I'd like to just kind of take a moment and welcome you. So, hey, Stephan, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, glad to have you here. And so if it's okay with you, I'm going to take a moment and just read a little bit about your bio. And so Stephan and I, we met about a year ago. And when we met, he was working as an environmental engineering consultant and he was considering a career change. When we started working together, we were doing some one-on-one sessions. And since then, he's left his job. He was admitted into one of Canada's top 5 business schools for an artificial intelligence degree. Super interesting. And so in the meantime, he's started a couple of small businesses, one of them being Tutor, where he offers private one-on-one mentoring and coaching to high school students and university students who want to go into STEM programs. So pretty awesome. Did I get all that right?
You did, yeah.
Cool. So I guess just to get started, I'm wondering, in our time together, what would be maybe your biggest takeaways that you'd like to share with other people that maybe they could gain from?
So I would say like the biggest kind of, if I took a step back and looked at it, from the day we first met, the amount that you were able to receive from, and I'm sure it's not just me, but like from other people as well, kind of like whatever I had to say in terms of like my problem or feedback given to you. And then everything I've ever given, you've received it with open arms and then took that and said, okay, if this is something that's important to you, it's most likely important to other people, and you've created things from it. So like, I know the insiders, I'm not going to say it's like, I'm the cause of that, but to me, it was a coincidence that like, okay, cool. I was looking for some more concrete structure behind learning NLP and NSP. I had it to me to be very fascinating, but unfortunately in Canada, there's a lack of a community. So luckily I found that in yours.
Awesome. Yeah, right. So actually, when you came to me, you had actually already had some background with NLP and with Neuro-Semantics. Could you share just a little bit about kind of like where you are when we met at the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the experience I had, unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily from a place. I was more of a client. I was a client at that point in time, and from a client with the frame of like a student. It was like, okay, this stuff is cool. This stuff works. I've seen it work in other people that have recommended it to me. And so really in Canada, the state that I was in was, okay, I was looking for some kind of self-change help. I've been obsessed with like self-change ever since I was like yay big. So like the NLP models, they just really kind of resonate well with me. Like, oh, this is great. Like it's a go-to tool. I can pull it out whenever I want to change X, Y, and Z. You know, it's kind of like plug and play type stuff. And so, unfortunately, in Canada, there's basically one stream that I knew of that was legit incredible when it came to NLP and NSP, and the rest was really kind of woo woo. There was a lot of like people playing like audio tapes or like reading scripts without really understanding the problem or understanding the person to the extent of like the rapport and things along those lines. So I kind of sought out some guidance. And I did that through contacting the International Society of NSP, which led me to Dr. Michael Hall, and then he plugged me in. And I was in a position where I knew I wasn't satisfied or fulfilled with where I was, and I knew I needed to change that. That was like basically what was the driving force to this. And I knew that if I felt complacent, like I wouldn't, like I was scared of doing that. Right. And I had a fear of becoming complacent. So
let me ask you a question on that. I'm curious. So anyway, so basically you always were interested in personal development. I think that's kind of me as well. And I think that's kind of a general theme for a lot of people who get into this field. And so what was it about Neuro-Semantics or NLP that maybe was separate from maybe some more stuff that you would say was woo-woo? I'm just curious, or how did you get that impression?
Yeah, well, one being it's experiential versus theoretical. So a lot of the things, they're theoretical and like in theory they work, but if you look at their usability rates or like reliability rates, it's not quite there. Where like, I would argue out of the work that we did, I would say like, I don't know, I can't pinpoint anything that didn't work as I wanted it to. You know what I mean? So like the reliability of the stuff you were teaching or somebody else was teaching to me, that's the main difference of like the type of NLP and NSP that you teach. So yeah, I would say like a 95+% reliability rate with the work in terms of the experience, rather than just, okay, self-help genre, classic guru type stuff where it's like, okay, the practicality, is this practical? Like out of how many people who experience reading this theory did, can implement it and use it for themselves?
So let's kind of maybe go there a little bit. And I'm wondering, so yeah, so maybe if we could summarize, like what would be an example of something that you learned and used it right away and it had an impact in your life? Like what would be something that you took away from it that maybe other people could share that experience?
So I think the biggest one, I know the biggest one that not only me, but something that like I teach regularly is the well-formed outcome. It's like really something that I've began to embody. So it's like going through the difference between, okay, like you have this dream or you have maybe a lack of a dream and you want a dream, right? Like you can create these well-formed outcomes versus just lofty ones. So that to me was probably the biggest like single thing. If there was another thing that I could say was the biggest impact, state management was another big one. Like I always found myself to be relatively like good with state management. On the outside at least, I seem like an even-keeled individual. And it's something that I didn't think I struggled with too much. And then I began to look inside, and it's not something I struggle with too much. It's at specific times in certain circumstances. It's not that I was deficient. Like, no, I wasn't performing at the peak. So being able to kind of manage that state effectively and use these tools that were given to be in a deep focus state or a non-judgmental observation of my performance or of somebody else. These types of states, like really, really, when you kind of like go to the everyday use of them, it makes a huge difference. So yeah.
And that's kind of funny because that's very similar to my kind of journey when I started out. That I would say in my journey, the two biggest things from NLP that had the biggest impact on me would be well-formed outcomes first and foremost, and then the state management stuff very much as well, and kind of stuff that I apply to myself daily. So
it's something everybody can use and can impact you immediately, like in any circumstance. But the key is like, okay, do you want to try it on? And I think that's a big thing with your approach, that you ease one into it through this like frame of mind, like it's just an experiment. Let's just try it out. There's no expectation of if it works or not. Like, but like really when it comes down to it, like I'm a pretty analytical guy. So the well-formed outcome, I like the breaking it down and the specificity questions with, okay, who, what, when, where, these types of things that they resonate, they make sense, theoretically, and practically they work even better.
So you mentioned earlier the Insiders Group, which is the kind of the community that we started here over the last year. I guess I'm just curious, like, what are your thoughts on the Insiders Group? What are you taking away from that? Like, so you've done some one-on-one work as a client, and then you did some one-on-one work with me as well. What would you say would be the difference between maybe one-on-one or joining like the Insiders community, or what's the benefit that you've gotten from that?
Yeah. And I think the thing that jumps into my head is the saying, you can either give a man a fish or you can teach him how to fish. And I think to me, that's kind of what the Insiders gives to me. It's teaching me really how to fish, or I guess the principles, we go into them deeper, and the confidence to be able to fish comes from the practice, right? And I know that's something, because it's the first time around, I can only imagine it getting better is in terms of like the quality of the practice, like sessions and partners, like that's a given, that's going to continue to improve. And it's rare to get in an environment where there's literally like, there's no negative that could come from it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, say you're working with a client and you want to try something out, and they trust you and they pay you, right? They put their faith in you to do something, and it's some new pattern that you've been playing with and like you've never tried on somebody, is that the time, is that appropriate to be doing it, or is it in the practice sessions? And so yeah, building the confidence, I think that's what the insiders gives as well. It's like that feedback from everybody else kind of boosting each other up. That's what it is.
And that's honestly when I started it, that was kind of the idea behind it, was that when I started out learning my NLP, I didn't really have that kind of community with the regular mentoring and stuff like that, or people to practice with who were experienced. And so that was kind of the what I wanted to create here, was like the space that I wish I had when I was first learning, to have that space to practice stuff, so that it's not just a paying client in front of you and you go, okay, let me try this thing that I read in a book once, and that'll cost you this much.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share in general about maybe what you've taken away, or anything else you'd like to share with people watching today?
Yeah, that's there's a lot of things to share, right? Like it's hard to explain, like the amount that I've probably learned in the past year since meeting you, within like the first like week or month of our work was already more like practical tools that, you know, you kind of gave, and then I did in the past. So I would, if I was going to do anything, this is not just to like, yeah, it's like, I guess it's the shameless plug. It's like, try it out. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you have to lose? What do you have to gain? Self-improvement, becoming a better person, helping those around you. And it's like, okay, you look at the cost of that. What is the cost of that to you? And the reward of that, what is the reward of it to you? And try it out. Like, really, what do you have to lose other than a little bit of time and you know, a little bit of money? But at the end of the day, it's like, these things make a big impact. But I would say, if you do want to try it out, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's really that's most things in life, right? So the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how much. So yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that. I just want to take a couple of minutes, you know, to kind of plug you. So, you know, if people want to find out more about you, or reach out to you, or work with you potentially, you know, what can you share with them about how to get to know you better and potentially work with you?
Yeah. So for the past, I'd say like 4 or 5 years, I've been like teaching informally, formally, a lot of younger students, like high school, mainly university. Most of my students now are in university because of the state of the school systems. It's really kind of sad what's happening. A lot of kids are like separated. They no longer have those support groups. So yeah, that's actually the next project I'm working on, is to develop a similar type of a sense of community. So developing a website where people will be able to, you know, work together on problems as well. The main purpose of the website is to be a database for practice problems. Students can add and comment and rate the problems of, oh, I saw this on a test, I found this problem really tough. And it's like, it's okay. Everybody has a similar experience. Like, you're not alone. Check this community out. So yeah, if you are interested, my handles are all Finite Tutor. The website is Finite Academy, a little spin-off the old pal.
I love it.
Yeah, and so that's a work in progress. So hopefully within the next 6 months it'll be.
And I'll put some links to that around the video here, so people can find you as well. And also, I guess I'm wondering, so you're going to kind of database these problems. What kind of problems are we talking about? Like, in what field? STEM mostly? Is that what?
Yeah. So mainly, specifically, what I teach. Great question. I teach like core mathematics. So whether it's like functions, mainly do a lot of calculus right now. But that spins off into like other things. So environmental engineering, it's a lot of chemistry based work. So teaching chemistry, which tends to be one of like the least liked subjects that I teach, but I hopefully try to change that a bit. It's like, it's usable. It's not just crazy theoretical stuff. So yeah, right now those are kind of the core things. I also teach economics, some programming, and yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's a lot more fulfilling than, I don't know, just working for a paycheck. It's like you get to help somebody, and I don't know, make the world a little bit of a better place.
So awesome. And I'm really glad to kind of have you in my circle over this past year, and to get to know you better, and to watch you develop, and to all of your, you know, thank you, I guess, publicly, for all of your feedback to help me to develop, and to help to develop the services that I provide to my clients and the people that I work with. So if you want to find out more about Stephan, you'll be able to see that in the links around this video. Stephan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today. And I look forward to seeing you in the group.
Cheers. Thank you, Jason.